Hello, everyone. My name is Yoon Jae Lee. I'm the artistic director of Ensemble 2 and 2. And today we have a wonderful guest, one of our violinists. He's a core member since 2014. Let me introduce you to Wooho Park. Hi, Wooho. How's it going?
Hi, Yoon Jae. How's everything?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you doing dealing with the COVID situation?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Just at home uh, most of the time and teaching from home, and
Yeah,
you know,
same here.
yeah, like most musicians are.
I
Yeah,
know. You know what's really fascinating is having this technology available to actually be able to communicate, whether it's with our students or with our audience, and just to be able to kind of interact like this, it's really amazing, I have to say.
yeah, it's definitely new, not something we're used to. You
Mhm.
know, yeah.
Yes. So, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Give us a little bit of your background. Tell us about how you got into playing music, how you got into violin. Yeah.
Like I started when I was 6 years old, I think,
Hmm.
and at first, my parents wanted actually me to start on the piano. A close friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, was really good musician, like really talented as a kid, and we used to go over to his place all the time just to hang out, and for I think it was like maybe a holiday party that me and my family was invited to. And as things go, when you're that age and your parents are really proud of you, they asked him to play a little something for the guests, and I was there on the
We've
violin.
all been
And
there, yeah.
right. And I watched my friend play, and I was just so impressed. Like, I didn't know what this instrument was. At the time, classical music was just completely new to me. And he played something by Chrysler, I believe, and I was just like, in awe. And
Mm.
at the on the way home that night, uh, I think the way I remember it is I could not stop hounding my parents to get me started on an instrument. Particularly with violin, I would just the whole way home I was just complaining to them, or asking them, get me a violin. I want to get started playing this instrument. And in fact, like I guess it was a couple days or weeks after that, they were taking me to my first music lesson after school. And I noticed that there wasn't any violin or anything, but they so I was like, well, what's going on? And we
Well,
got to
maybe they had it there, right? You don't know this because they might have
sure. Oh, yeah, that's
scheduled
true. The
the violin for you, right?
Right, like sometimes they have the instrument at the teacher's place
Hmm.
and all that. But it turns out my parents had bought the books for like the piano beginners books, and were taking me to my first piano lesson. And when I actually found out when we got to the teacher's house. And uh, you know I was like livid. I was just so angry that I locked all the doors from inside the car and refused to get out of the car.
Really?
Yeah, and I had been begging them to start violin lessons, but they kind of betrayed me in a way. They had me, were trying to get me to play an instrument I didn't want to.
Uh-huh.
um, and eventually they gave in and had to buy me my first violin, and we started taking violin lessons from there.
Yeah, wow, that's quite a story. So you were really insistent. I have to learn violin, not piano.
Yeah, that's how I kind of got started. Yeah, and I was really, that energy kind of, I guess, for the first couple years, like, was really, it got me excited about the instrument, and I worked really hard at it for the first, like,
That's great.
I
Yeah.
want to say 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
And did you continue playing the violin all throughout while you were growing up?
Yeah, I took it quite seriously until I was about, I want to say 12,
Hmm.
12, 13. And then actually a couple events in my kind of young life, like my childhood, I had kind of a rough relationship with an instrument. One of which
Don't
was,
we all?
yeah, like I took a couple breaks during my teenage years. my dad's job actually got transferred to Korea. What ended up happening was we all went to Korea. I went to Korean school for about, I want to say 2 years. And during that time, I was just so busy learning kind of, the Korean language, getting accustomed to not only the culture, but like, you know, uh, first and foremost, I wanted to make friends there and, learn all that I could about, the language, the culture and all that. So I actually came to America when I was less than a year old, and I grew up there learning just like, just English. And like I talked to my parents in English most of the time. And so when I got to Korea, I was like, just kind of like thrown in the ocean a little bit. And I had to really fight to kind of fit in and learn to communicate in ways that I wasn't really comfortable with. And so actually I took a little break from violin while I was in Korea. And I did play, regularly, but just kind of my own self-study, and I didn't really take lessons during my time there.
Yeah, well, understood. Given that there were so many things going on, it's hard to focus on the violin when you're kind of in the midst of a little culture shock, right?
Yeah, that was kind of my first and foremost kind of priority. And coming back to the United States, in fact, I kind of tried to pick up where I left off. Started taking lessons again right away, and went back to the youth orchestra that I wanted to play. I used to play at, and but like taking a break from the instrument must have affected me a little bit in ways I really didn't, couldn't plan for. And I was kind of on and off, um, after coming back to the States. And wasn't actually until like my third year of college that I really started kind of taking it seriously again.
Yeah, and so you went to UC Berkeley, right, for your undergrad?
Yeah, that's correct. I went to UC Berkeley. Um,
Yeah, and so was there some like pivotal moment while you were at school that really made you decide to become a music major?
Yeah, actually, I started off as a biology major. I wanted to take the MCAT, and that was my first kind of plan going into college. But so I took a couple music major courses, and then I decided my third year, oh, maybe this is it for me, And uh, one of those music courses was actually a conducting course um, taught by our music director there. And ever since taking that course, and seeing like what kind of work that conductors do and all that, I really wanted to take it farther. I wanted to learn more about music, about the composers, all the music that I was playing. So that's when I decided to major in violin. There wasn't a violin performance major at Berkeley. It was just a general all around music major. So I did the music major track, and I went to grad school. I did a year of grad school studies in violin.
Yeah, so just to share my perspective as a conductor, I absolutely agree with you. I think conducting is such a fascinating aspect of music because it's very, very all encompassing. So I when I was first taking conducting classes, I kind of felt the same way you did because it was like, wow, the conductor has to not only think about the music, but there's like music psychology involved. You have to actually, think about musicians, and you have to have good human relationships, and there's so many other aspects of music making that were involved. When it's one thing when you're playing your instrument and you're kind of creating the music physically, or whether it's on the violin or on any instrument. But with conducting, you're not physically creating the sound, but you're creating the gestures. And it was just the fascination of the team dynamic that always made me enjoy not only playing an orchestra but also conducting and making music with wonderful musicians.
Yeah, that's what I learned too. That it was like, that it's kind of a different interaction that you have as a conductor, um, and like kind of the what you learn in kind of an orchestra setting than the things you learn as in like private one-on-one lessons with your, I say, for me, a violin teacher, right?
Yeah.
Like you learn your solo repertoire and you learn the technique and like how to, the concert etiquette and like how to approach like studying your like how to get better at playing your instrument, right? That's kind of our main primary focus. But like in as a conductor and in that world of like orchestral playing and all that, there's first the team dynamic and like how you're supposed to interact with the people around you. How as the conductor you're supposed to lead people and show them like through your gestures and through how you communicate with them, what is going on in the music, how to kind of phrase a certain passage or like the research that you've done about the history or the composer's intentions and all that. So that was really eye-opening for me because that's something I had never done as just a violinist.
Yeah. Most times, when you're as string players, you're thinking about, intonation or shifting or, your bowing or things like that, right?
Yeah, intonation, practicing your scales, all that, which kind of can get boring. So actually taking that conducting course and being in orchestra and all that really piqued my interest, or like got me passionate about music again because it was something, oh, there's like a whole new world, another world out there that you can explore. So it was less boring to me than just, sitting in a practice room all day, grinding out scales over and over again.
Great. So why don't you tell us how you came over to New York and how you got involved with us, with Ensemble 212?
Yeah, so I came to New York because of my graduate studies. I went to the Mannes
Uh-huh.
College of Music,
Mhm.
and I only went there for a year before I had, because of other complications, I had to withdraw. I haven't finished my graduate studies yet, but I do have a strong interest in going back to kind of complete that, and that's when I was first kind of got to know what Ensemble 212 was doing, and a friend that used to play with Ensemble 212 brought me in one time, and I played a couple concerts with you guys. I think my first concert was when you guys played the Beethoven's First Symphony.
Oh yeah, that was at our one of our Merkin concerts. It was 2014. Yeah.
It was 2014, right? Yeah. So yeah, that concert was phenomenal. I love playing that symphony with you guys, and there were a couple soloists on that, like young artist soloists or something on
That's
that
right.
concert
Yeah,
as
it
well.
was for our young artist competition series. Which is one of the
Yeah,
core aspects of Ensemble 212.
those kids were phenomenal, and uh, obviously I had a blast playing Beethoven with you guys, and it only got better. Right, I played Mahler 4 with you guys, and that was just incredible as well.
So it's our hope that we as an organization will do more events in the future. As you know, we're planning on taking everything online now. So as we do that, we'll see if we can have you involved as much as possible.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I love playing with you guys. It's one of the projects, yearly projects that I always look forward to.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about your other musical activities outside of Ensemble 212. What were you doing before the pandemic?
So before the pandemic, I guess the biggest kind of new thing besides teaching private lessons was I used to work uh, at this program curated by the Wharton Institute of Arts in New Jersey. It
Hmm.
was called the Paterson Music Project, and they kind of set up a El Sistema type, uh, uh, music program for uh, underprivileged students that wouldn't otherwise couldn't otherwise take uh, be involved in classical music.
I think it's important because we'll just be honest. Music is costly, and we need sponsors and patrons to help these underprivileged children learn these instruments because violins are not $100. I mean, we're not talking about the ones on Amazon, right? I mean, the real instruments, they're a couple hundred thousands of dollars, right? You really need to have good instruments in order to really play and take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Even, like just the costs of learning a classical instrument are just in, they're insane. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars were sunk into, taking me to lessons and enrolling me in orchestra programs and sending me to competitions and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something feasible for a lot of underprivileged students out there. And so it was a tremendous privilege to be able to kind of go to one of these programs and be a teaching artist there. And yeah, and it was a really eye-opening experience for me. I taught viola there. In fact, I didn't teach the violin, I taught viola.
I see.
Mm-hmm. And uh, I taught two classes of 10 students each. And I never taught in a classroom environment before. Never dealt with so many rowdy students, rowdy,
It can be tough. Yeah.
young children all at once, before. And it was definitely a learning experience to teachers have it rough. Like they are, teachers,
Yeah.
public school teachers, are so underpaid for what they bring to the table and all the work
They're
that they do.
absolutely undervalued. I mean, they are true heroes in terms of what they do to inspire, children of the future. They work so hard, and I know a couple of friends of mine that are teachers, and yeah, they are definitely undervalued for what they do for society.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's never been as apparent during the COVID global health crisis, right? Like it's crazy the amount of work that these teachers do, and like the value that they bring to education is just uh, it's invaluable. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and that for me, working at this after school program called the Paterson Music Project, and I got to work with a lot of the kind of students there, um, and seeing their faces light up when they learn something new, um, like learn to enjoy music, because that's something that we don't really um, value in our society, I guess, and much anymore. So like I feel like the arts are less of a priority these days than is kind of STEM education. And for these kids to be able to engage in something artistic and flex their artistic muscle, um, a skill that's very undervalued in society these days. I feel like it was so rewarding for me to be able to bring that to these students. And you know uh, even in really privileged areas where they have all the resources in the world, um, students don't really get to engage in music making, high quality music making. Like the work they're doing at this at PMP is just incredible, because at the end of the year, I want to say they have like five or six different groups, like a whole wind ensemble, a jazz wind ensemble, three different levels of orchestras playing a year-end concerts, hundreds and hundreds of kids learning to play instruments in and learn to make music together. That's you can't find many programs like that out there, and to be part of it was amazing. Yeah.
Did you have any memories of teaching or being involved in that program?
Yeah, actually I do. So while I was teaching there was this one student that I, you know, had a lot of trouble with. So I taught there for 8 or 9 months, I want to say. So it's like 2 semesters. I taught 2 levels,
Yeah.
and I had him for both my classes, and uh, he was just, one of those kids that had to always be the center of attention. He was derailing the the stuff we were learning in class, and everybody else was kind of their kind of studies were taking a hit because of this kid. And so towards the end of the second semester, my last semester with them, I pulled him aside and I talked to him one-on-one. And I told him, if you continue doing this, it's going to be hard, and I really want you to learn. And but if you are your behavior is kind of not acceptable, uh, you have to fix this. And he kind of took that to heart,
Hmm.
I want to say. And because for the next couple of weeks, he would show up to class, and I saw a really stark change in his behavior.
Wow.
He
Hmm.
he started to really work hard at it,
Hmm.
and I don't know what I said that made a difference, but he, like, towards the end of class, he would start asking me, like, "Oh, like, how did I do today?" Like, he really
Yeah. Hmm.
was uh, you know curious about, like, his improvement.
And that really shows that it's coming from within, because when people ask, that means that they're kind of asking themselves, they're evaluating, am I doing well or not? And they want that confirmation from the instructor, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I had very little experience with classes at that point, and dealing with students with those kinds of behavioral issues. But whatever happened, I pulled him aside and I really had a conversation with him, and I guess that must have changed something in him, and he would show up to class, and he uh, uh, would ask after the end of every class, he would ask, like, how did I do today? And that was when I, like, oh, something's, like, happening with the student. And uh, uh, towards this would happen for the next couple weeks and next few weeks, and leading up to the year end concert. On the concert day, we had a
Hmm.
couple of dress rehearsals. We show up in the morning and practice a couple times, have stage sound checks and all that. And every step of the way, he was just kind of looking to me for my kind of approval, like, I worked really hard today, or like, I uh, did I play this piece really well? And he
Hmm.
would ask me these sorts of questions, and at the end, he played every note, like, despite having not participated in class for, like, the majority of the year, the better part of the year. Um, those last few weeks, he really stepped up, and I want to say he took his instrument home, practiced, and um, at the end, the last concert, he played every note, uh, you know, perfectly. I want to say perfectly, but maybe not completely perfectly, but, like,
Yeah,
it was such a big difference between the
mhm.
start of the year and the end of the year. And that I'm so, like, uh, I'm so astonished, and I feel good that I was able to kind of make be a kind of positive influence on the student. So.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, what counts, is because you make these personal connections, and then you make a difference in that one person, and that could mean so much to that student, that it could really forever alter his life because of that experience. Because I think when we're younger, we these experiences, they last with us. It's really true, because usually remember a lot of the first times I did things, but after I do them a couple of times, I don't remember them as much. I
Mhm.
remember my first Ensemble Twin Two concert, but if you ask me to recall one from just a few years ago, I would not necessarily be able to recall all the details.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really commendable that you were doing that program and working for them. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it was one of the um, kind of uh, great experiences that I've had, um, as a teacher, like, because up until then, I had only been working with students one-on-one. And, I had this kind of, um, like, I grew up in a bubble. My parents had no problem, taking me to my private lessons all the time. And to be kind of the teacher in that, um, uh, uh, to be the teacher and to be teaching students in a way that I was unfamiliar, receiving that kind of education, like from the teacher's perspective, was so different for me, and for hard to definitely hard to wrap my head around. And to be kind of just put in that situation, and to uh, kind of learn as I go, that'll stay with me forever, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
teachers, we learn a lot also because we don't really, and that's what I kind of equate teaching with rehearsal to some degree, is that especially with younger students, of course. I mean, with conducting groups like 212 and professional groups is a little bit different, but like there's a little bit of this kind of, we don't really know what will happen in the rehearsal, so you have to kind of come not with a pre-planned set of ideas about what you're going to fix, but you just have to be there at the moment. Especially with the younger students, you have to be able to mentor them in many different ways. Whether it's technical or physical, or artistic, or maybe even just emotionally. That you have to be kind of there for them. So it's a very important thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I just want to thank you so much, Wooho, for your time. I really, really appreciate it. I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to make some wonderful music with you. And so, what we'll do is we will leave a link. If you want to take violin lessons with Wooho, we will leave the link in the description below. And thank you so much for your time. Don't forget to like this video and to subscribe. And Wooho, I wish you a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you in 2021.
Sure thing. Thanks a lot, Yunjay.
Okay. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye-bye.